we don't talk about this much because we talk about all the big sports. And that's kind of our thing. But we like golf. You and I. We are below average golfers, I think we'll go with. I don't know. Maybe average at best.
I think average golfers
Average?
because
Okay.
you
We'll
know
go with,
we golf the average way.
yeah, we're not terrible.
Like
Typically, we're not shooting over 100, typically. So we're not terrible, but we're not good. We're not great. We're not going on tour anytime soon. But there is a bunch of guys on tour right now, and they're at the Masters. Arguably the biggest tournament in golf, I'd say. If not the biggest for them, the most well known, for sure.
mhm.
Like everyone knows about the Green Jacket, and everyone knows about the Masters, and it's a prestigious event because you can't golf at Augusta unless you're at the Masters, pretty much, because they don't let anybody in there. But yeah, we've been following it a little bit. We put out our predictions. Initially, I was thinking, you know what, maybe Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson missed the cut. How are you? Guy went from winning it
That is
last year to not even making the cut this year. Good for you, sir.
that is rough, and you don't think he's gonna repeat because it's pretty hard to repeat,
Mhm.
but you think that he's gonna at least make day 3,
Close.
day 4.
At least be
Yeah.
on the at least be in it for day 3.
Yeah,
Like that's
but
rough.
I think that just goes to show how different the game is from November to April, right? That course is completely different.
Yeah, that's a lot of what the commentators were saying and stuff, is that the course is playing so different, even just throughout the days. Like day 1 to day 2 the course was completely different, like the way the greens played and stuff like that. And they showed a really cool side-by-side shot of it was Justin Thomas and someone else. I don't know who the other guy was, a bigger dude. And they had the exact same shot and the exact same thing, but I guess the way Justin Thomas hit it, it started to spin right. The other guys didn't spin right enough. Justin Thomas's goes in the hole. The other guys ends up rolling about 40 yards and rolls off into the water on like 15 or 16 or whatever it was. And it's like, it's just crazy how different the course plays for everybody. And it's wild. You had Justin Thomas on your prediction. I laughed at first because when I first went to make the graphic, he was like 2 over and not looking good, and then guy just went off, and now he's I think he's only a couple back of the what do you call it, of the leaders. So that's not too bad. He's there. I had Spieth. Spieth is sitting in third, or fourth, 2 strokes back of Justin Rose, who had a phenomenal first day and a not so phenomenal second day.
I think his ability to maintain was great. You did enough to survive, but yeah, you definitely closed the lead out when you had a really great day 1 where no one else really did, and then you kind of just
He was 4 strokes up after day 1. 4 strokes up.
Yeah, you can't do that day 3, day 4. This is where you get going and really make a move, and that's going to be tough, especially because they're talking about the weather today being a certain way in the morning, and then about mid-afternoon to late afternoon, it's going to just change, and it's going to be tough, right, for some golfers who are teeing off later.
All the big guys are teeing off at like 2:00, right? So just as
right,
they're about to tee off is when everything gets interesting.
Yep. So if you're one of those guys, who's got a bit of an earlier tee off, or who kind of already has,
might have the advantage.
You're looking to make a move right now,
yeah.
Especially for day 3, right? Put yourself in competition for day 4, and who knows what can happen. So.
Good on Justin Rose for pulling out of what he did, though, because he started that front 9. I think he was like 5 over, something like that. And he calmed down, brought it back, and he ended up even for the day. So, I mean, he held on to it, which is good for him. But, like, it's weird. Like, guys that just show up and pop off a 7 under or something along those lines, they never really repeat that in the next day. They always struggle the next day. You can't really play consistent, incredible golf, which makes it so entertaining. Like, he dominates one day, and you don't see that out on the rest of the tournament, right?
I think that's what I love about the 4-day tournament, right? Is you've seen some guys who can,
accidentally
compete
be great
really early on.
Yeah,
but you guys, compete early on and go through the tournament that way at the top of the leaderboard. On guys who take all 4 days and make a calculated move, right?
Yeah,
that's great. So
yeah, no, it's good.
I love golf. I love to watch it.
One story I kind of find interesting about this tournament every year is Bryson DeChambeau. Because every year coming into it, they talk about how Bryson DeChambeau's got this ridiculous power off the deck, and he can just hammer balls over the trees and get in a great spot on, I forget what hole it is, but the one that dog legs, and he can just go over and be set up for eagle every single time. And then he just butchers all the in-between stuff where he just doesn't play this course very well for the most part, and he showed that on day 1. And then day 2, he kind of figured it out a little better. He's looking a little more poised to make a move here. But, like, it's just definitely not a course for a guy that he's near the top of the leaderboards in every single tournament and just shows up to Augusta and just cannot figure it out for the most part. It's so weird. He's such a conundrum to me.
Yeah, man, Augusta's a different beast, Like, you can be
It'll eat you alive.
I love that these commentators really talk about the power hitters are taking over, because Augusta is kind of one of those courses where I feel like when you can shape your irons and you can be deadly with your putter, that's really when you're going to come alive, right?
Yeah.
And somehow yesterday, Kim had shown that you don't need a putter to be great at putting, which is good for him. However,
it's insane, man. The guy pulls out a 3-wood to start putting with, and
just incredible to be that frustrated and stay that high up in the order. Yeah.
Oh, like, it's crazy to look at because he still ended up parring every hole with that putter, or with the 3-wood, I guess. And it's crazy because my brother was like, no, he 2-putted. And thinking back, he did 2-putt everything with that 3-wood. But because he's so damn good, he was on the green in a spot where he could 2-putt for par, which, like, as a below the average golfer, you're like, shit, I wish. That would be great.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. If I had to bring out my 3-wood to try to putt something in,
snowman's.
It would be great. I would be playing a nice game of pass to myself sometimes. I think I'd take the Mickelson approach and just hit it while it's rolling, and that's my score, Good enough for me.
Just rough.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's golf. It's fun. They're on day 3 today. None of the big guys are teed off, so we don't really have much to talk about in terms of movement up the leaderboard.
They're about 2, they're teeing off soon. Probably when
2 o'clock, most of them, I think.
Yeah.
Justin Rose is at 2, I believe. A couple guys are right now, but yeah, so we'll have more to talk about the next episode. But yeah, we thought we'd bring that up because we kind of forgot about it last time. On to the Blue Jays. They've sucked since our last podcast.
I think we jinxed them.
We jinxed the shit out of them. They're 0-4 since.
I know. We know. We're sorry. We'll take responsibility for that one. And we just.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know.
Roark sucked. We spoke too soon. He wasn't good. Ryu was great. They just couldn't get the bats going in that game. They only gave up 2 runs. They lost 2-1 to Texas, which okay. And then they come into game 1 against the Angels, and you have Ross Stripling on the mound. Ross Stripling, you don't expect to put up low numbers, but he only gave up 4 runs, and it was a winnable ball game when he left, and some shitty luck in extras, and Dolis makes a great pitch that David Fletcher fights off for the win. I don't understand why Dolis was in the game to begin with, because Baraki was dealing and they just decided, no more of that. It's game 8, and I already have plenty of issues with the way this team's been managed. I don't want to try and make this a conversation all year long again because I'm sick of talking about it, but I tweeted out last night, this team is a Ferrari. It's got all the tools to be great. It's an incredible baseball team. They've got the lineup. Their pitching has been good enough. And they handed the keys to a G1 driver and said, good luck, kid, because the guy just doesn't know what to do with the power that he's got right now. Like, last night, it comes out before the game that Teoscar was in close contact with someone with COVID, so he couldn't play. Baraki couldn't play. And then during the game, Lourdes had to leave the game because of vaccine-related symptoms. And fine, whatever. But when you set your lineup that day, he had to put in someone for Teoscar because he was out, but he also decided to DH Randall Grichuk. So now you have Josh Palacios, who has never had a big league at bat, and Jonathan Davis, both in the outfield, who's been struggling as hell. And now you have no power in the middle of that lineup. Like, I understand why you don't use Rowdy because he's been struggling, but I would rather give Rowdy the chance to come out of that than see Jonathan Davis and Josh Palacios back-to-back in the lineup, and then Alejandro Kirk, who's also been struggling. So the bottom third of your lineup produced literally nothing.
Let's not skip past that. Kevin and Bo have also kind of been
they're not doing great either. You're right.
Right, so that is a lot of holes where we thought you were going to be pretty solid down the lineup, right? We're at a point where one of those guys can get inserted and you're okay because everybody else throughout the lineup is hitting. But that's not happening right now, right? They're struggling to find consistency, especially amongst these teams. Like, even a team like Texas, you have your ace up on the mound and you lose 2-1.
Yeah,
that's not it's not acceptable by any standard, especially if you're going to be a team that competes at the top of this division.
Yeah, they haven't been.
You need to take it
now.
No, and you need to take it to Texas. I think one of the things I'm not understanding with Bo Bichette is how come he's still able to be at shortstop when you have such flexibility with Marcus Semien to come over there and to take that away. Like, dude, he's missing a lot of these plays. He
has had a couple of rough errors, but it's been the same around the league. It seems like a lot of decent shortstops are making stupid errors. I just think you want Bo there because he is still your guy for the future. Like, you don't have Semien locked up after this year. So Bo is your shortstop going forward, unless you're going to use Austin Martin or Jordan Groshans, which I don't see being very likely. I think one of them goes to center, one of them goes to third. But as of right now, Bo is your shortstop for the future, and you want him to work that out. And there's no better way to do it than just play games and try and figure it out. You're not losing because of the defense right now is basically my thing. Is the defense hasn't been phenomenal. It's been good, not great, but it's not the reason you're losing games. It might have been the reason they got a bigger lead yesterday, but it didn't cost them the game. Your issue right now is that nobody can seem to hit with consistency. And that's just some slumps. Like, it just happens that everybody's slumping and everybody's hurt at the same time. Like, you lose Springer, you lose Teoscar, and you have Bo who can't hit the broadside of a barn. You have Cavan, who's even worse. Semien, for as great as he's been in some games, he's been invisible in others. It's just they're all kind of trying to get their feet underneath them, but it's all happening at the same time. And the only one that can figure it out right now is Vlad and Grich. It sucks, but I don't want to hear anyone talking about how this team's not any good. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
If you said that this is like a Ferrari, though, and you have a G1 driver, this Ferrari definitely has some dents and some scratches.
It needs an oil change for sure.
Yeah. The bumper's kind of sagging a little low. Yeah, the bumper's a little low, and, the wing's a little off. So
it's a little slow.
It's tough to drive it. It's tough to drive that perfectly down the road,
But he's not doing a very good job driving it either.
No, and I also find that there are some really struggling hitters getting really clutch moments, and it is hurting the Jays. It's not right, and it's just, and they're not able to take advantage of anything. Yeah, they're not able to get clutch batters in clutch situations, and they've been around in a bunch of games, and they seem to lose them. Yeah. And then they have a blowout, but instead of answering those close games with wins, they get blowout losses right now.
Yep. It's fine. I think they'll regress back to the means or go up to the means, whatever you want to call it. The one thing I want to talk about, and it's been baffling me since he did it. Charlie Montoya went with an opener yesterday. I'd just like to say I hate the opener. I think it's the stupidest thing when you have 5 starters that can pitch. And TJ Zoik already started the beginning of a game, so it didn't make any sense to me to begin with. But if you're going to go with the opener, why are you going with an opener that is the exact same pitcher as TJ Zoik? He doesn't throw harder. He throws the exact same style, throws the same way, I'm pretty sure. So you're throwing in TJ Zoik 2.0, so you're not even changing up the batter's look. So you have David Phelps, who went out there and pitched masterful 1 inning, and then you pull him after 1 to give TJ Zoik a chance. Like, if you're going to go an opener, go Trent Thornton or go, like, Julian Merriweather would be a good option because you have 2 guys that can throw in the upper 90s, and they throw completely different than what you have at a TJ Zoik, and you give them 2 or 3 innings so that they get through the lineup once and that everybody sees somebody different in their first at-bat. Then you go to the next guy, and then you have 4, 5, 6 with your starter, maybe 7 if he's good, and then you can go to your big bullpen pieces. But it just didn't make sense to me to go David Phelps for 1 inning and throw TJ Zoik, who's the exact same pitcher, because he got lit up. And it's not surprising. Like, they didn't give them something different to look at. It doesn't make sense.
I think this has definitely been something that Montoya has to learn from if he's going to throw the same pitchers back to back. And I think that also comes with learning where each pitcher is going to be most successful, right? Like Merriweather, he was what day 1 saved. So to come in and be now, game 9 opener.
Yeah.
Like for game without, like that's a little tough depending on what kind of pitcher he is. So I get what you're saying because like going with the same pitcher is not that good because we've always said that TJ Zoik is not a great pitcher to begin with. So having
he's not something to rely
back to back, yeah, exactly. So
that just doesn't make sense.
It's definitely going to hurt, and we saw it, right? And there's nothing that's going to save the team right now, especially when they're not making plays defensively or when they're not hitting, and that just kind of brings the whole spirit of the team down. And when you're down early because of just hits or, singles. And especially when they get multiple hits in an inning, like you just get really deflated, right? A home run is kind of
you saw it in that game
quick,
last
easy.
night. They were done. Already.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like a home run, it's devastating, but it's like kind of quick, easy, like it's gone, and then you're back to it, right? Whereas like if you can string together 3 or 4 hits and get 2 runs, like it's so much harder to shake that off because it's like, dude, I just gave up 4 hits.
Yeah.
And they scored 2 runs from it, right? They had 4 guys get on base, and that's not what you want, right?
No, it wasn't good.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It sucks.
Crushed. DeGrom just gave up one.
DeGrom did. Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he gave up a high 100-mile-an-hour fastball to Chisholm, and he just crushed it.
Jazz?
Yeah, well, he crushed it, yeah.
I have Jazz in fantasy. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
There has been one very bright spot for the Blue Jays, and I feel great about it because I kind of almost jokingly, sort of not, yes, kind of maybe said maybe put a what am I looking for? A bet down on Vlad for the MVP because I think it would be interesting. I think he's got a really good chance, and he's been fucking great, so good so far. Just patient out there, seeing pitches. Getting his pitch, doing damage with it when he sees his pitch, hitting everything hard, and he's been great. Ben Wagner tweeted out, now this is after game 1 of the Angels series, so the numbers are a little different, but at the time, he had reached base safely in all 7 games, batting .348 with a double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, and 2 hit by pitches for a .483 on base and a 1.135 OPS. Just crushing right now. He's the only bright spot in that. It's one of 2 bright spots in that Jays lineup, and it's been phenomenal. I'm so glad to see this kid finally breaking out and being what everyone thought he was going to be. He doesn't have the home run numbers, and I think that's the one thing people need to stop expecting from Vlad is that he's never really been a ginormous home run guy. Just because he's big doesn't mean he's going to hit a ton of home runs, but he hits well, and he hits so hard, and it's great right now.
But like, does he really look that big to you anymore?
No,
like,
not anymore. He looks cut now. Like he looks big, but not fat.
He definitely trimmed out. I don't even think this is the end for him, man. Like he could be going in a whole other direction with it, and keep going to maybe not cut, but like definitely gain more from it. Right? Yeah. Like he's just learning at first base, and
he could get into like Mike Trout territory where he's just like triangle shaped.
Dude, cool. he moves, right? So and they've got a great training system there, I think. They've got good trainers that are willing to dedicate themselves to getting him in shape for the season. So
yeah. I
think that's showing in his at bats, right? You don't need him to hit home runs.
No.
He's hitting
just do a job
if he's getting on base. Dude, if he's getting on base now, I trust Vlad rounding that bag.
I think it showed. It showed in game 1 of this series where they where he got on, and I think it was the 10th or the 11th or the 9th, one of the 3 innings, and they didn't pinch run for him. Like he was the only one on base, and they didn't pinch run for Vlad. I'm like, they have faith in this guy to run the bases now, and I don't disagree with it. I think it's the right move. Like he's not fast. He's not gonna steal bases and do all that, but he's a smart base runner. And he can still move a little bit. Like you're not gonna get him pretty easily on something up the middle or something like that. He can take the extra base. Guy's pretty good. I'm really happy with the strides he's taken. It's great. I love to see it, and I love that he's doing great on first because the guy that was supposed to be playing first looks fucking terrible this season. Rowdy Tellez is now 0 for 17, I think it is, and just really doesn't even look close. It's not even like he's getting out on balls that he hits hard. Like he's just not even close. It's worrisome. I know Rowdy's always had this where he's streaky at times, and there's times we'll hit 420, and then there's other times we'll hit 120. But this is like a new level of cold for Rowdy Tellez, and it's just nothing seems to be going for him. He can't really get sent down right now because there's nowhere to go, but I think he's on track to be sent down to work some shit out once that AAA season gets going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like right now you're kind of okay carrying it a little bit because you're not out of any sort of race right now. You're still all close in the division, and so I think having him, and maybe he, like you said, like he's capable of hitting 174, hitting 474. Like it's completely dependent on him, and it's so weird to see it when you get up there, right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
you think that he could just crush it, and you're like, he gets in this clutch spot, and you're like, yeah, Rowdy's gonna absolutely destroy this, and just swing and a miss.
Just doesn't.
Doesn't do it. So, and
It's
unfortunately,
weird.
with this team, that could get you out of the lineup and not really get you another chance back in there.
No, it's
Right?
so
If
deep
there's
right now.
somebody else,
You gotta produce, or else you've lost your spot.
yeah, right. Especially when they get healthy again and they're able to, hopefully beat even a little bit of this COVID scare from some of their players. And
Yeah,
once
hopefully.
they get back to that lineup, it's going to be tough to be in that thing, especially when you're batting as bad as he is.
Yeah. We kind of brushed over it, but Teoscar didn't test positive for COVID, but he was near someone that did test positive. Hopefully he doesn't, because that would be kind of worrisome for one of your better hitters. But once he gets over that, and then Baraki and Lourdes get, like, I understand the COVID vaccine thing. Like, my mom finished hers and she said, like, it's hell the day after, but like eventually you'll get past it. But like I get it. It happens to the best of them. It doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in. Like the second dose of the vaccine is going to hit you hard. So those guys will get over that in a couple days. But it's just, once you get everyone back, and then you get Springer, who had another setback. He's not going to play for another week. Once you get him back too, your lineup looks way better, and there's just not really much of a spot for Rowdy in it. And at this point, there's not really much of a spot for anyone on the bench. And I think there's enough guys behind them that they could just be like, hey, let's try this. Joe Panic's been great. But outside of that, it's rough.
Montoya's been mismanaging it away too, because he just kind of leaves a lineup similar to what it is.
It's ugly.
It's very frustrating to see it, because they're having the same problems night in, night out.
Yeah, gave the keys to a G1 driver, dude.
I get it.
He's not that good.
I'm understanding.
Great
this
human
is not
being.
The Ferrari. I
really like Charlie Montoyo, human being. I really don't like Charlie Montoyo, manager. He just makes a lot of really dumb decisions that I don't understand. But hey, he's got the job. I don't. What am I going to do? Two negative arguments I never want to hear again out of Jays fans is that this team doesn't have what it takes to get it done, because that is garbage. 8 games into the fucking season. Don't talk to me about what this team's going to be in August. Now, 8 games into the season where they've lost 3 guys and they're not hitting the way they should be. Clearly, this is not this team. Like, Bo's hitting 240. Cavan's hitting under 200. Like, this is not what this team's going to be. Let's relax. They'll be fine in a bit. Let them work some kinks out. They're not this bad. Also, they have the same record as the goddamn Yankees. The Yankees, who are supposed to win the AL for sure, and maybe the World Series out of this. Like, it's fine. It's a rough stretch. It happens to everyone. The Yankees lost to the Rays handedly, and it blew my bet, and I'm not happy about it. But, like, it's going to happen.
You're still very young, man. Like, let's not forget, you were not even back in the day. Not even back in the day. Let's say 10 years ago, you were not really getting a sniff if you were 22 to 25. Maybe 25, you'd get up in major leagues for some at bats. Right? Like, they would really take their time drafting you and developing you through the minor league system. And now it's this young kid movement, and all of these guys, not all of them are going to hit gold every single time they get up to the plate. They're going to learn, and pitchers learn them. They learn pitchers, and now, you just hope they can figure it out.
I tweeted out last night that our BnB account on Twitter is most likely just going to be a Vlad appreciation account for most of the year, because that guy's unreal and I love everything he's doing. And this random person responded to it and goes, yeah, well, it should be. He's the only bright spot in the lineup this year. I'm like, timeout. I'm like, for starters, Randall Grichuk's been phenomenal. So don't talk to me. And secondly, it's been 8 games. 8. If somebody went through this stretch of 8 games in July, you're not even having this conversation, because they're still hitting 300. But because it starts the year off, it's a tough stretch for a bunch of guys. But this is obviously not what Bo's going to be. Bo has hit almost 300 in every single season he's been in. Cavan is seeing pitches terribly this year. He's going to get back to where he was. Marcus Semion's an MVP candidate, finalist, sorry, is what I'm looking for there. He's not going to be this. And the rest of the lineup's going to figure it out. Like, you'll get George Springer back, and George Springer's arguably the best leadoff hitter in the game. It's going to be fine. Don't tell me that there's nobody in this lineup that can hit, because that is what this lineup is good for. You can talk to me about the pitching staff. There's concern there. I'm not as concerned as I was to start the year, but there's concern there. Don't talk to me about how the hitting isn't coming around and it's not going to be there all season. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Guy also went on to say the Angels aren't good, so yeah.
I think Angels are proving that they're pretty good right now.
He's like, oh, they're losing to the lowly Angels. I'm like, the lowly Angels that took 3 out of 4 from the fucking White Sox and split it with the Astros and could have won both? Come on.
Yeah.
Don't give me that. God, just embarrassing. Some people just don't watch. It's like
there's teams that are starting out. I know there's teams that are starting out hot that nobody even realized were doing it. Like even the Astros were dynamite until they ran into they split it with the Angels for sure, but
they slapped the shit out of the A's.
Yeah, absolutely. They bent them over a barrel, and just completely it's funny how teams do that, right?
Crazy.
Like they can just come back around after a season of being mediocre, and then just say no, like we're still here to play.
After watching the Angels for the first 7-8 games, whatever they've played, I think you might be right. They look fucking good, dude. Their lineup is hitting with Shohei. If Shohei Ohtani can stay healthy the whole year, they might be a force to be reckoned with.
I think if he can stay somewhat
he's got to be able to pitch. He's got to be able to pitch.
That's the thing, right? Is that their pitching is also kind of the same question mark. Like, what are you getting out of it? But right now, they've been able to just get leads early. Yeah, he's a gamer. Good. Like he just gets in there and he games.
And right? Then their bullpen's been good.
Getting Quintana too was a pretty good addition to the team to just just guys who want to compete.
Professional gamer that's going to get it done every time he goes out there. They're good,
but they're not relying on like Mike Trout and then like Albert Pujols right behind him. You know, like
Pujols Justin Upton, bench.
Right? But Justin Upton isn't expected to have as big of a role. Like he can now, but it's just they've got a more solid team. I feel
Justin Upton's almost an afterthought in this lineup.
Also, Mike Trout is just hitting everything.
Oh my god!
Like he refuses.
He's
to
back.
Be told
that guy is an MVP again. He's back.
I think, absolutely. I think he wants that. I think he wants to show that, like, you know what, then this is, if you say I need to step it up another level, then I will step it up another level and take over.
The guy's bad season, quote unquote, was finishing 5th in MVP voting last year. So, like,
right.
It's not too bad, but they're just, like, right from the top down. Like, they start with, I think David Fletcher leads off for them. David Fletcher's such a great hitter just all around. And then you have guys like Justin Upton, and you have Shohei Ohtani, and you have Mike Trout, and you have this Jared Walsh character who comes out of nowhere. I called him Matt Walsh in the last podcast, by the way, so
that's so
sorry.
Funny.
But you have Jared Walsh who comes out. He's been the best hitter in baseball since like September or something like that, like one of the best run producers, and just murders baseballs. Comes out of nowhere, steals Albert Pujols' job, and Pujols is now a bat off the bench. Like that's how deep this team has got. They're gonna be fun. They're gonna be a good team to watch. We've already talked about them, but
I think getting Max Stassi too. He's kind of like a power hitter. Like, you know, he's able to hit that long ball. And Suzuki's also just able to manage behind the plate. Okay, you know, he's not great.
Not great. He's a good backup.
He's good backup, absolutely. And you know, Rendon is finally mixing in with that team.
I didn't even mention Rendon. I went through that whole list and forgot about Rendon.
Like that's what I mean. Like he's there, right? So
good.
It's good. I'm trying to figure out what Trout's numbers are right now. I'm just gonna look at them. But
he leads the MLB in WAR right now, which is nuts.
Oh, he's got 429 average.
Yeah, so he's been raking. It's a joke. I
think he's gross.
He's got 3 or 4 home runs already.
Yeah.
Stupid. It's stupid. One final point.
He has three home runs. Six every has.
Nuts. One final point on the Blue Jays I kind of want to bring up. I've seen a lot of people bashing Rafael Dolis. I understand that he's like slow when he's up there and he takes his time, and it's a little frustrating. But don't tell me that Rafael Dolis shouldn't be in this bullpen, man. Like this guy's still, he had like an ERA under 1 last year. He can still get the job done. And then like he had 1 bad out. It's the Shun Yamaguchi treatment where he had 1 bad outing, and now everyone is just like gone with Rafael Dolis. This is still a guy that he takes his time, but he gets the job done. He's a really good pitcher in this bullpen.
He's able. He has a lot of experience even internationally, and I feel like that's a different style of game there. So to get prepared, like getting prepared for your pitches, and man, I don't really care how slow he is. No, you know, if there are rules in play to try to speed up the game, and if he takes that maximum time of rules, then like that's the allotted time. So I like what he does for the team.
Yeah. He gave up the run in the 11th, and I get that. He made a great pitch to David Fletcher. Like, that's not a very easy pitch to hit. And Fletcher did something with it. What are you going to do? Every now and then
you're realistically not going to get them all. And you know what? He was really good down the stretch.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope to see, right? Yeah, keep throwing that pitch, like we're saying. Yeah, like we're saying, if that one went to the hitter, then you know what? Maybe try it again and say, I feel like I could have got that guy on it. Yeah, it might be a little lower next time.
Yeah.
And he gets him.
He had him. It's fine. He'll be good. Right. I'm not worried about Rafael Dolis, and you shouldn't be either. On to hockey, because I think that's it for baseball.
No, that is not it for baseball. You have more for baseball? Do that to that man. Do not do that to that man. We watched it last night.
Which man?
He pitched a no-hitter.
Holy shit, I totally forgot. Joe Musgrove. Jesus Christ, I didn't write it down.
I messaged you.
Thank you.
I messaged you. I said, Brant.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you
Joe
watching
Musgrove
this?
Went out there, threw a no-hitter. First in San Diego Padres history. And the first of the season. He was one pitch away from being perfect. It just threw a slider that hit Joey Gallo.
Yeah. Every team now has, I think, a no-hitter.
They were the last team. Last team did not have a no-hitter. Yeah, it was a great outing from Joe Musgrove. He looked fantastic. He had 10 Ks.
That slider?
Just nasty.
Was that it? Dude, it was fucking. I saw the pitch, because I caught it. I think I caught it more like 7th, 8th, right?
Yeah,
I got
popped in the
update.
6th. But yeah.
Yeah, and then I saw the K camera of where everything was, and it was sliders were literally they were not close, but they looked gross, just from the K camera. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this back. And they
when they were making contact, you're like, yeah, no, that's fine. Little ground ball, no big deal. It's just. He just dominated. It was an incredible outing.
No, so congrats to him. Yeah, and you can say whatever against Texas, but
they beat us.
Still, doesn't matter. It's an MLB team, man. Yeah. Good for him.
And he carved them. It was
great.
I loved it. Good for Joe Musgrove.
Yeah, he was. For the Padres. He looked into the zone too. I didn't think at any point.
The Padres need a win right now. They're struggling with some stuff.
Yeah.
Now I think we're done with baseball.
That's it. I think you're good to go, man.
William Nylander. Was in close contact, similar situation to Teoscar, was in close contact with someone that was positive away from the team, and that sucks. You hate to see it. I hate that this is happening to both guys because, I feel like there should be a little bit more in place so that this doesn't happen, but it happens clearly, and it's happened to a bunch of teams, happens to a bunch of players. So Willie's out for at least 7 days. It doesn't hurt the Leafs. You're still safely in a playoff spot. Whether or not you finish first is just who cares at this point. You're going to face one of these 4 teams or one of these 3 teams. But it sucks to have Willie out for any extended period of time because he's a game changer in this lineup when he's on. So it sucks. You hate to see it, but whatever. The Leafs continued onwards. They won. I think it's 1 game since the last podcast. They won on Thursday. I don't even know when they won, but they did. Yeah, they did end up making a deal for Rielly Nash. Brought him in from Columbus. He was in, right? If I'm not mistaken. They traded him for a conditional 7th. So it's a 7th round pick unless he plays 25% of the Leafs playoff games because he's hurt right now. So if he plays 25%, it moves up to a 6th round pick. That is the safest trade you're ever going to make because you can just take him, put him on LTIR, and gain cap space. And then they went from that and took Freddie and put him on LTIR. So now you have $5 million in cap space for this deadline. And there's lots of guys you can acquire for $5 million if people want to eat some cap. It's a great move. Just an elite business move from Kyle Dubas there because it just helps your team without actually having to do anything. And if Rielly Nash comes in and plays on that 4th line, then you're laughing. If Riley Smith comes in, then you're laughing.
You really want Riley Smith.
Apparently, just subconsciously, Riley Smith is coming to the Leafs.
I don't think he's going to get primed from Vegas to Saints.
That's going to be a tough one. That's going to cost you a little bit. But no, Rielly Nash is a good 3rd, 4th line guy. Plays really good defense for a forward.
Really good depth guy too, right? You can put him. You don't have to play him every single night, right? So I think that's a good move. He's a
good interchangeable piece. I'd rather see him over Pierre Engvall personally. So it's not bad. It's not too bad. Outside of Toronto, because apparently that exists, the New York Islanders made a trade. They made the biggest trade so far, I would say, in bringing in Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac for a 1st-round pick and 2 prospects. New Jersey is eating half the salary of both Palmieri and Zajac. Obviously, they could make this move because they lost Anders Lee a little while ago, and he's done for the year. So they had to go make a move, and they were the ones that brought in Kyle Palmieri. And I hate that Lou Lamoriello exists because he made Kyle Palmieri shave on day 1. And I
also,
get it.
Though, Lou is kind of just grabbing old players, is he not? Like, I know he wasn't really there maybe for the
I think
Palmieri.
Zajac was.
Zajac was there, yeah. Like, so that means that
That's what he does. He did it with Matt Martin. He did it with I think Brian Boyle.
Yeah.
I do not understand the shaving of the face thing. Like, what? You just want
It's
to
a
be
very
powerful.
old school.
You just want to
It's
tell
kind of
people what they can and can't do with their body.
I wouldn't even say, is it like it's not even like a really old school style of game.
No, it's just a power move.
I just don't know what kind of it is, yeah.
It's interesting just
for
a power move. He just wants to feel
it creates a lot of structure. Let's say that.
It's stupid. Like, I get it. The guy used to be a great GM. And I understand he won GM of the year.
This team is good, though, man. Like, this team on paper
this team is not a Stanley Cup team, though. I'm sorry.
They don't have anything. Just grind out players.
Yeah, and that's it. That takes you a little bit, but it doesn't take you far enough. And it's shown that the last 3 years they bow out when they face a team that's actually built well and built to do both things instead of just defend, and counter.
But the thing that they're doing again is that, let's say if they go through their division, they're still playing Washington and Pittsburgh that they've seen. So this is nothing new there. They're playing a really hurt Boston that does not look the same.
Boston sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe you're playing the Rangers, who they see always. Like, so it's nothing new for them. And now they just got, like, I wouldn't say better, because losing Anders Lee as your captain is hard to do. But getting Palmieri and Zajac are depth players in that team that fit right into that system, right? It's not like anybody said that the Islanders stretched outside their system or their game plan for these players. And, a first-round pick, we talked about it last podcast. Like, if you want to give up a pick, this year is the year to do it, is it not?
I would say so, yes.
Like, because you don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, no, it's a weird year for that. I would just like to point out, the Islanders are not good against teams that aren't named Buffalo or New Jersey. Like, they went through that one run where they won a bunch of games, but, like, you look at they lost an OT, but they won against Buffalo and then Boston, who just, I don't have faith in Boston.
In the playoffs, they are good against teams named Washington, and they are going to be good against teams. I don't know if
they are. They haven't made it very deep.
Dude, if they face Pittsburgh has no goaltending. They're standing on, like, one leg back there, not even, and that's
okay. So that big run they went on where they won all these games, right? Like, everyone's like, "Oh, look how great this team is." They beat Buffalo, and then Boston. Okay, good job, and then Pittsburgh. Okay, Jersey, Buffalo, Boston when they were trash in the shootout. New Jersey, and then once they got back to real teams, they lost to Washington and Philly, who's not even really good. And then they beat Philly a couple times, but then, like, they lost both their games to Pittsburgh. They won against Washington. Like, they will be okay, but they're also the benefactor of playing Buffalo and New Jersey a lot. I don't see them being that great. I just cannot stand Lou Lamoriello and the fact that he goes on this power trip to think he can tell people that they can shave their face. Like, what happens if, like, say Austin Matthews gets traded to New York tomorrow, and he's like, "I'm not shaving my mustache." What does he do? What does he do?
You have to shave. You don't play.
You just gave up all these you gave up all these assets for whoever you bring in. What do you do if he says, "I'm not shaving"? Bench me.
You're not playing. That's it. That's
fine. Who cares? You still have to pay me. Like, there's nothing in my contract that says I have to shave my face. You just want me to because you're an old piece of shit. I can't stand that, man. Oh, my God. I'm so glad he's not the Leafs GM anymore. Brutal. I think that's it. We got nothing left.
There's some other minor trades that have kind of happened. Like, I think Patrick Nemeth went to Avalanche. Red Wings took on 50% of that salary. That was for a fourth for not this year's draft, but next year's.
Yeah. Speaking of the Red Wings, Bobby Ryan's out for the year. That's a tough one.
Right. The Panthers also just got Brandon Montour.
Yeah. The Vancouver Canucks, who are still in COVID and not looking great, they extended Tanner Pearson for 3 years at like 3.25, I think it was, per season. Like, great deal for what Tanner Pearson brings. So there's that.
Are you still on this Leafs need Taylor Hall train?
I don't think they need him, but I don't hate getting him.
Right. Nobody hates getting Taylor Hall, but
I don't think they need to make a move at all. Personally, I think their team is good. I think Alex Galchenyuk was a nice little piece that just kind of pushed your trade deadline up a little bit, and you didn't really need to worry about it. He's been great on that top six. He's going to play on the top line apparently tonight. So there's that. And then outside of that, like you kind of got Wayne Simmons back and you're hoping he gets healthy by playoffs so that like he's basically your acquisition. You don't need to make a move if the price is too high. But if the opportunity comes and you can get Taylor Hall for like a first and a B tier prospect, I'm here for that.
See, Edmonton has come out and said that they don't really want a first round pick for a rental player, which is, that's why I don't know maybe if that's in the same, right, absolutely, but I don't know if they're in the same mindset because like that's really what you need. That's kind of shown.
They are different though. Like they know they're not built well. I think Edmonton knows that they're
anywhere
not
from where they need to be. No, they're built on one line and one line only.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know. Like,
they
Taylor
need those
Hall
picks
might
more than
bring
rental
that.
guys.
But do they though? Because Taylor Hall might bring that aspect, especially for this year, of the second line guy who can carry the puck in, like we talked about him. His zone entrance is one of the best in the league. So to bring him into that lineup to take over the second line again and have McDavid and Draisaitl leave that first line, like it gives you don't need to put them all together. You now have flexibility between the three of them.
Yeah.
And I think that he knows how to play with Nuge.
Yes.
So I think that for them, if you're a smart GM, you're looking at that.
I'm trying to find the Oilers are what? 2-5 or 2-6 against the Leafs this year. 2-5, right? I think something like that. If I'm going into the playoffs, I'm not here like, yeah, we can beat the Leafs if we bring in Taylor Hall. I think that's what pushes us over the edge. Or we can beat the Jets if we bring in Taylor Hall. They're under 500 against teams that aren't Vancouver and Ottawa.
You kind of hope though that you can just outscore them because you're not going to get any better in goaltending.
No. But like they can't, like you cannot outscore the Leafs and you cannot outscore the Jets if you're the Edmonton Oilers. You have two guys that play these guys. And I think it's the right move for them to try and keep building through the draft instead of bringing in rentals that are just going to help this season. Because I don't think this is the season for them. Like, I don't have faith in Mike Smith to push them through.
If you're Buffalo, though, as well, you can't sell anything for less than a first.
No, exactly. I don't think Taylor Hall goes to Edmonton in that case then. Because I think they want the first. And if they get it, they get it. If not, who cares? They don't trade them. But I don't think
Edmonton is still second right now. So I think they're seeing that they can still – they're pretty much well clear of
6 points back of us, I think it is. 5 points back?
5.
Yeah. With a game in hand.
Yeah,
so but they won that game in hand. But
right. But it's getting closer to that end of the season where, you don't need to worry as much about, the Calgarys, the Vancouvers.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real far slip. And if you continue in the trend that you're going, then you're going to make the playoffs, as well as you're going to be in a good spot to not see the Leafs first round. Because you'll be the second seed.
Yeah.
So you'll see Winnipeg, where the Leafs will then have to play probably a Montreal. And, Montreal is going to be a very tough matchup. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but they're not going to roll over in 4 games. Well, that's such a
right there.
Try. No, I took a sip of coffee, and there was a lot of sugar at the bottom. And it just really caught my throat. It's been a good time.
Just to clear up my stat, the Oilers are 3-5-1 against the Leafs this year. So it's just, I don't know. They're just not in a spot where I think they can.
Mike Smith doesn't look confident to me.
He looks good this year, but not good enough to win you playoff rounds. It's interesting. We're kind of
especially when they try to put fans in. You know what they're going to do, right? They're going to go to places where you can have fans in stadiums and put them in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once playoffs happen, that these hub cities, if they go back to that idea, are going to be in places where they can have fans because they need to make some revenue.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So if a place like Dallas doesn't make it in, right, Dallas is still going to get to see some hockey because Texas is wide open.
Yep,
absolutely right.
I think you're right. Complete heel turn here. Did you see Gary Trent Jr. wearing the Blue Jays new blue Trent Jr. jersey? Looks sick.
I love that.
Oh
yeah, he's all in.
Oh, dude!
I think nobody gave him
I really like
over.
how he's bought into this city, and he's never even been.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
so cool.
He just wants to play. He wants an opportunity to show what he's got. He's a really, really good 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
I think that's something, but he can play defense as well. I think that's something that they really thought Matt Thomas was going to do when they brought him over, and he just wasn't. So to get that player now and to put him in situations like Nick Nurse doesn't care what your name is on the back. Like if he thinks you're hot right then and there, and the play is going to go to you.
Yeah.
So Gary Trent Jr. He's already hit a shot.
Yeah.
Already in his Raptor career.
So cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is not that hot of a take. The Blue Jays' new blue jersey is the most stylish jersey of any in Toronto sports.
Okay.
Hey, give me a different one. Maybe not even. I was gonna say maybe the Raptors purple ones. They don't have them this year. So the new blue, that's the only one. It's so
any jersey in any sports
in Toronto sports.
Oh, Toronto.
Yeah, no, of Toronto. It's the nicest Toronto jersey. I think. Not the uniform. I don't like the blue pants, but the blue jersey, especially when Gary Trent was wearing it in that look, I'm like, that looks so clean, so nice.
I guess active sports. I don't think all time though.
No,
I just love.
I really like the Raptors purple ones, and like
even the white nice. When they had I like the purple with the black on the back. That was cool to me. I don't care.
Like the one they just did.
Days. No, the BC days, back in 2000. Yeah. If you watch the dunk contest, he's got the purple front with the black back.
The new purple one they just did is not nice. I don't like it. I like the look, like the purple with the black arrow. It's cool. But I don't know why it's a black back. It looks so bad.
I think Toronto. The Jays have some nice jerseys though. They've done.
The red ones are cool. Well. The red ones are really cool. But the new blues, I just think are elite among Toronto jerseys.
Yep.
This one's okay. This I don't hate this one the way other people do. But I hate the number on it because that hurts.
The name on the back is the best.
Still hurts me to this day.
That's why you always sit forward, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we're out of news. Thanks for listening.
We're out of news.
We didn't really leave too much. This is the nice thing about doing 2 a week is that we don't have to. We can break things down. We don't have to talk about.
I knew that the week wasn't going to be that busy, which is nice, right? Like when we come back Monday, man, we're going to have whatever happened on the weekend. We're going to have the Masters finals, right? We'll be able to talk a lot more about that. I think that's an industry that we kind of want to have. For me, anyway, a little sports, just a side.
A nice transition day for us today.
In this summer, because we're probably going to play a lot of golf. We're going to pay attention to a bit of golf here, man.
Yeah, why not? Thanks for listening. As always, don't forget to follow us at the BnB pod _ on Instagram and Twitter, and at the BnB podcast on TikTok. You can find it all linked in the description below. More, we have merch, we have more content, all of that at theasports.com. Click like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff down below, all that fun stuff. We really appreciate you listening. We will catch you in a few days. Cheers.